So we're going to watch this TYT coverage because while I saw the clips of this happening on Twitter at the time, I don't feel like digging through the Twitter timeline, and I'm sure they'll have the clips lined up and ready to go. So let's take a look.
People were arrested in Los Angeles over the weekend during the second week of protests outside of a Korean spa in Koreatown known as We Spa. Now, this started off with what appears to be a completely manufactured controversy. And I'll give you those details in a second. But unfortunately, the situation devolved even further.
Which, by the way, I really need to point out that all this real violence happened just because someone alleged that a trans person was in a place, okay? When trans people are like scared or upset about being in public or about being called out or about being clocked or about not passing, this is the kind of shit that we're scared about. Because essentially, for trans people, someone can just claim that you did something and people will become furious about it. Like it's like this might sound like hyperbole, guys, but I'm not meaning it that hyperbolically. It's almost on the level now because people are getting fired up into a frenzy on the conservative side about stories like this. It's almost at the level of like black people whistling at a white woman back in like 1920, okay? It's like that for trans people. We're afraid, we are scared, and that comparison doesn't seem that far off to me.
With police using excessive force against the counter-
Exactly pointless. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to exist. They'll be furious. Exactly.
Protesters who showed up to counter-protest the anti-transgender protesters who were demonstrating outside of this spa. Now, we got to go back a little bit. I want to give you some context because this all started on June 24th when an Instagram user, Cuba Angel, posted a video of herself angrily confronting a staff member at the We Spa in Koreatown, accusing them of letting a disrobed transgender person in the women's section of the business. Now, I'm familiar with We Spa. I have frequented that spa several times, and I hate the fact that a place that I love so much is embroiled in this controversy, especially with what appears to be a manufactured controversy by the right wing. I say manufactured because so far there's been absolutely no evidence that the allegations by this woman, this anti-trans feminist who was berating We Spa workers, that the incident even happened, right? So she claims it did. She claims that there was a transgender woman who went into the women's area of this spa, was disrobed and allegedly had an erection. And when I first—
Here, I'm gonna skip ahead here. Yeah. Increasing data among law enforcement and staff at the Y Spa, whether there was ever was a transgender person there to begin with. LAPD has been unable to find any corroborating sources. But let's skip ahead to what happened here.
Cops use excessive force. A good example of that is the video that you're about to watch where a protester was just shot at blank range with a less lethal weapon. Let's watch.
So all of these weapons that I have colors on them, they are supposedly non-lethal weapons. So this shotgun right here, that's about to be fired, is supposedly a non-lethal shotgun. Also, a lot of these launchers, like this one right here, they're not designed to be like shot directly at people. They're designed to be shot at the ground. But like these people just directly aiming at protesters. By the way, even though this is not supposed to be lethal, if you're just firing it point blank at people, like, you can absolutely kill someone or cause a severe internal damage to their organs.
So there's also some regulations in Los Angeles in regard to how police are supposed to use these less lethal weapons, right? Whether it's the weapon that you saw in that video that uses a foam projectile or bean bags. They're supposed to shoot, I mean, I honestly think this is insane, but they're supposed to shoot at the ground so it ricochets and then hits the target, so it's less, powerful, I guess. But look, the point here is, why did the cop even do it? I mean, you have a counter protester. They're saying, don't shoot, don't shoot. No one is serving as any type of image.
No, guys, nah. Look. When a protester's out there giving you guff, okay? Sometimes you need the bad cops out there, okay? Sometimes the good cops need the bad cops to just, step out of line, pop a protester, and then the good cops, they'll just like collectively turn away or like pat the bad cop on the back and say good job and tell him to cool it. But the bad cops never face any repercussions for, like, shooting people point blank. Like, that cop in that video, not gonna be disciplined. Nothing bad's gonna happen to him. He might get desk work for a week or a paid vacation, okay? They're going to be fine. But the fact that, like, people say, well, there are bad cops, but most cops are good cops. Okay, well, how many cops were in that video? Okay, let's take a little look. Okay, how many cops were in that video?
Less lethal weapons.
How many cops? How many cops do we count throughout this video? All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wow, 15 cops. There are 15 cops in this video, guys. Yeah, it's pretty incredible, but turns out if just one of these cops was bad, why did all the other cops just not do anything about this bad cop who's just shooting people for no reason? Pretty interesting how out of 15 cops, not one of them's like, yo, dude, we need to arrest you and take you to the station or something for, being a bad cop. Hockey's okay. I played hockey a few times. Couple of my cousins are like semi-pro at this point.
So there's also some regulations in Los Angeles in regard to how police are supposed to use these less lethal weapons, right? Whether it's the weapon that you saw. I mean, you have a counter protester. They're saying, don't shoot, don't shoot. No one is serving as any type of imminent threat. And this isn't the only video evidence we have of the cops using excessive force. It's so incredibly frustrating, Waz, because I think, look, if you want to have a legitimate discussion, a calm discussion about the nature of Korean spas and how some people might feel uncomfortable with a transgender person in the locker room, I think that might be a valid discussion to have, but you can't have that discussion when it immediately devolves into what we're experiencing right now in all of this video surveillance, in all of these cases of police using excessive force and brutality against the counter protesters.
Yeah, and I don't want to cast any aspersions on the police. Far be it for me to ever do something like that, Anna. But from what we know, police officers, the members of the force, they tend to lean conservative, which makes me believe that their sympathies lie not with the anti-protesters, but the people who were complaining and pissing and moaning about trans people being able to freely use a facility in the section of which gender they actually identify with. That's a one. So I'm never gonna be surprised with the cops behaving in lockstep with the worst fringes of American conservatism. That seems like par for the course for me. Yeah, secondly, Anna, you're right. We can't even have a frank conversation about nudity in a freaking, a locker room of a spa. Like, why are you losing your mind over this?
Made it clear that they're not going to enforce the new mask mandate, which requires indoor mask wearing. Then there's also the fact that they are brutal, not just to counter protesters, but also to journalists who are just simply trying to cover what was.
I don't think she was saying about trans people specifically. I think she was talking about like conversations about how Korean spas work, rather, and like the relationship between nudity and Korean spas. I don't think that is specifically geared towards only trans women, because cis women are naked in front of each other too, and that can be weird for some people.
Transpiring that day. Take a look.
Yeah, totally normal police behavior. You're not on the sidewalk. Time to beat you, and time to beat you into the ground. Classic Mulberry cop. Okay. Nothing to see here, just cops pushing over press. Don't worry about it.
Just brutal, absolutely brutal. Cops come in, they're supposed to de-escalate the situation, and they do the exact opposite. They call it an unlawful assembly, and then immediately use brutal force in order to clear the area. It's just.
Yep. So to recap, a fake story about a trans woman allegedly being in a locker room at a spa escalated to the point of real-world violence, where Proud Boys were going around macing girls in the face. There's another video out there of that happening. And additionally, like, just cops brutalizing counter-protesters who are just showing up to defend the right of trans people to exist in public. It's wild. It's wild out there. Hey, Irked.
You ever want
referred to Jewish people as rats.
All right. Our next story is Candace Owens. Candace Owens is oh, wait. The biggest question I have is, where the fuck are we trans women supposed to go then? Like, I got a perky little B cups and a lady dick. Does one supersede the other in terms of what can be shown in a private space like a locker room? I honestly, like, this is why I don't go to places that have locker rooms. Like, I just don't go to the gym. I do my own exercise at home with whatever I can scrounge together for exercise equipment. You know, like, I that's what I do. I don't feel comfortable or safe going to the gym because I know that there are people out there who would literally commit violence over something like that. Have you ever banned someone? Yeah. Yes, I have. see. Yeah, fuck being in public. Yeah, exactly. But like that's not like a real solution. The real solution is just normalizing trans people. That's the real solution. And the unfortunate reality is that that takes both time and legislative effort. Legislation like ensuring that transgender people are forever protected by things like Title IX. Making sure that trans people cannot be discriminated against in law. Stuff like that is really, really important. And that is what will, in the long term, normalize trans people being in public. Look, I get, on some level, I get, because I used to be this way, how someone could see a trans person and go like, oh, they're weird. I feel weird about that, right? Like, I get that. But it's okay to feel weird about someone. It's not okay to escalate that to violence or to deny them basic rights or accommodation. Like, that's not okay. And so this is, again, you know, how conservatives are like, oh, why are trans people always shoving it in our faces? Why are the gays always shoving it in our faces? Well, we're not. It's just that it's becoming more normal to be gay, to be trans. It's becoming safer to be gay and to be trans. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So never shut up about it. Never stop pushing for legislation. And make sure that we keep on fighting.